Congress just dropped the bad DOGE Act, and no, it's not about animal welfare. Let's talk about Musk. Welcome back to Beyond the Bill Number, the podcast where we dissect the legislation shaping your world one bill at a time. I'm your host, Stephen.
And I'm Sarah. Buckle up, because today we're diving into a story that's equal parts bizarre, political, and, well, Elon Musk. It's all about his new role in the federal government and the many bills that Congress is firing back with.
Yes, you heard that right. The CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter, or X now as it is, somehow found himself in charge of a federal department. And as you can imagine, lawmakers are not thrilled. So let's break it all down. Are you ready, Sarah?
I was born ready, Stephen. All right, let's first jump into this executive order that is responsible for maybe the weirdest part of 2025. Well, at least the weirdest so far.
Yeah. Just before we do that, a quick aside about executive orders. So as everyone knows, executive orders come from the executive, so the president. And Bill Track 50 has just introduced a new tool which allows you to track executive orders and then find federal and state bills which are similar at the click of a button. Ooh. So if you want to know what are the states doing about DOGE, or you want to know what are the states doing about tariffs, you just find the executive order, you click similar bills, and there you go, big long list of all the bills. In fact, we love it so much that it's available for all users. You don't even need to have a Bill Track 50 account.
I love it.
Okay, so let's get to it then. So how exactly did Elon Musk end up heading a government department? It sounds like it was ripped straight out of a novel.
Oh, it definitely has that vibe. So in early 2025, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14158, which created the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE for short. And I think we can all kind of remember when this came out. This was my first honestly huge eye roll of the entire administration, because Doge is a meme, coin, cryptocurrency situation. And I was just like, where are we and what timeline is this? But okay, here we go. So the goal of this department and kind of this executive order was to streamline the government, cut through the red tape, make federal agencies more efficient. And we all know that sounds good in theory. This is actually something that most people do when they retake over the government from either side. It's, we're going to cut costs, we're going to make it efficient, and we're all pretty much here for that. But here's the kicker. Trump just appoint any bureaucrat to run it. He tapped Elon Musk to take the reins. No Senate confirmation, no public vetting process, nada.
So no vetting, no process, no Congress involvement. And this is Elon Musk, the guy with massive business interests, millions in political donations, and enough controversy to fill a library. So how does that even work?
And that's exactly the questions that critics have been asking. His formal status is a special government employee, which allows him to work in the government for 130 days without any process. But no one ever really thought that that rule was going to be used for someone in such a powerful role. The fact that Musk was appointed as a private citizen without Senate approval has raised some really major flags, and it immediately blurred the lines between public service and private influence. Musk still controls SpaceX, Tesla, and a bunch of other ventures, and there's a big concern here that his government role could create conflicts of interest. There's been a lot of reporting about SpaceX and NASA and the FAA and all the planes dropping out of the sky. I mean, it's been crazy. And on top of all of that, he donated $250 million to Trump's re-election campaign, which made people wonder, is this about efficiency or kind of payback?
Ooh, I'm sure it's purely about efficiency. So Elon Musk is overseeing a department that has access to the most sensitive government data, everything from social security records to IRS files. So what could possibly go wrong?
Well, exactly. So DOGE's sweeping powers and lack of transparency have really alarmed lawmakers, news people, normal citizens, especially considering some of the early actions. Think mass layoffs, hiring freezes, and directives that seemed really retaliatory towards these federal workers who didn't toe the line. Also, the people that he brought in were young. There was no understanding of who was getting what access, what they were doing with it. It was crazy. So you can kind of see why Congress is jumping in with both feet now.
Yes, I can. I mean, so when I worked in the government over here in the UK, I was involved in so many of these kinds of processes because it's just an ongoing thing. Everybody wants to make the government more efficient. Every time the
Hmm.
politicians changed, we had yet another incentive to cut the workforce by X amount or whatever. And you approach it in a sensible way. You say, okay, fine. The people who work in these departments draw up a big spreadsheet and they say, these are all the things we do. This is how much money we spend on them. This is how we could cut them back. This is how
Yeah.
we could get rid of them entirely. And this is what the impact of that would be. You then deliver that to your political masters. They spend a lot of time poring over this and discussing it.
Hmm.
And then they almost always come back with some relatively minor changes because it turns out most of the people who work in government are actually doing a job that matters, that is needed, and that is there to actually put forward their policies. Government
Yes.
comes in with policies, they want to enact them, they need people to enact them. So you always end up with modest savings, but never really anything dramatic. Unless you get this kind of sort of slash and burn approach, which has obviously been hugely destructive. So let's just have a look into in a bit more detail. So we're getting to the good stuff now. So how is Congress responding to Musk's role at DOGE? So I'm assuming that they're not just sitting around sipping lattes and reading the headlines.
Oh no, they're busy drafting legislation faster than Musk tweets. Well, that is the Democrats at least. So the bills that they're introducing are making a lot of news, and honestly, they're kind of hilarious in their directness.
Oh, yes. So let's start with the Stop Musk Act. Does sound like something out of a comic book.
Yes, it does indeed. So, the Stop Musk Act was sponsored by Democrat Representative Maxine Dexter, and it's a big one. This bill aims to protect federal employees from retaliation if they whistleblow on the misconduct within DOGE. And if you're kind of working in or around DOGE and see something that smells fishy, whether it's unethical behavior or just plain outright illegal acts, you now have stronger protections and no demotions, terminations, or reassignments because you dared to speak up.
Okay, so it's like a don't mess with the feds bill, but specifically for DOGE.
Exactly. The bill ensures that civil servants aren't punished for trying to uphold the new law. It's really about protecting the integrity of the federal workforce, especially when leadership is, let's just say, unconventional.
It is indeed. All right, so what's the next bill on this Musk busting agenda?
So next up is HR 1145, the Nobody Elected Elon Musk Act, brought to you by Representative Melanie Stansbury. And again, in its directness, this bill has brought something bold. It makes Musk personally liable for any legal issues that arise from DOGE's actions. And we're talking violations of labor laws, national security risks, and data privacy issues, the full menu that has been extensively reported on thus far. And Musk might not be elected, but if this passed, he'd still be the one on the hook.
So if DOGE messes up, Musk doesn't get to hide behind his corporate empire. He has to face the music.
Exactly. It's about holding him accountable and making him understand that his actions could and would have consequences. The bill closes these legal loopholes that would allow Musk to dodge responsibilities simply because he's not an official government employee. He's this special temporary one. That we don't
Yeah.
actually have a lot to govern or understand how to hold people accountable for their actions if they're in this state because, again, like we said, nobody really thought about this position in government being used this way. So if DOGE does something wrong, Musk can't just say, not my problem.
And what about the Bad DOGE Act? This one sounds like it's out for blood.
Yes, woof woof. So the Bad DOGE Act is sponsored by Representative Dave Min, and it's kind of the most comprehensive and frankly the most dramatic of the bunch, which you could tell by the name. But it calls for a complete repeal of Executive Order 14158, which would mean dissolving DOGE entirely and end Musk's involvement in the federal government. But it doesn't stop there. This bill aims to prevent the future administrations from creating similar departments that bypass this Senate confirmation or complete oversight.
So it's not just about Musk, it's about keeping the government from becoming a playground for billionaires.
Yeah, that's right. That's the spirit of it. And the bad DOGE Act is more of a reaction to the idea that we can't let private individuals, no matter how wealthy, hold such unchecked power over the public functions. For a while during all of this, we kept asking, can he do that? Can he do that? Can he do that? And a lot of these bills are kind of looking at, but why can he do that? And how can we address that? Because we're seeing this now. That doesn't mean that if the Democrats take over that we wouldn't see this again, or if the Republicans are still, on their own choo-choo train this way, it's not going to happen again. But it's really about returning to these traditional checks and balances that are supposed to keep power in check in the United States.
All right. So we've got three major bills on the table, but I understand that the resolutions are coming in hot too.
Oh, yeah. The resolutions are flowing in. Some procedural, some symbolic, but they're all kind of trying to get a piece of this action on Musk.
Okay, give me the highlights.
All right. First up, we have Senate Resolution 165, and this takes aim at reports that Musk and Trump are planning massive layoffs within the Department of Veteran Affairs. The resolution is pushing really hard back against them, arguing that cutting the VA staff could seriously hurt veterans' access to care. We're talking about real-world consequences for those who served our country.
Yeah, so not exactly the kind of efficiency you want to see in a department that deals with healthcare, right?
Exactly. And then there's two resolutions, House Resolution 286 and House Resolution 264, that are both aimed at increasing transparency around DOGE's use of AI. Congress is pushing for more insight on how Musk's team is using AI in federal operations and questioning who's getting these security clearances. As we all know, AI is trained on data. How is the data that they're training the AI on coming to be, and what are the checks there? Because, when Elon Musk is involved, everyone kind of starts asking questions about who's running the algorithms and who's safe from them.
AI in government, definitely a place where you don't want things to get too experimental. You'll remember when we just covered the battle to regulate AI discrimination, and previously we have looked at AI's role in firing nuclear missiles, for example.
Let's not automate the nuclear staff with AI.
Let's not do that.
Let's bring that back again. All right, and then we have House Resolution 186, and this one dives deep into the potential conflicts of interest surrounding Musk and DOGE. So lawmakers want records, emails, contracts, internal memos to see if DOGE is really just an extension of Musk's business empire and kind of what he's doing behind it.
So this isn't just about Musk's role in government then, it's about how much of his private business is leaking into this public sphere.
Exactly. There's a very large fear that DOGE could end up benefiting Musk's other ventures, and Congress is demanding answers.
All right, Sarah. So what's the big takeaway from all these bills and resolutions?
Well, one thing's clear. Congress is on high alert, and they're not backing down. Whether it's holding Musk accountable for DOGE's actions, or protecting federal employees from retaliation, or questioning the very existence of DOGE, lawmakers are demanding transparency and oversight. They're also sending a message. Government power shouldn't rest in the hands of a private individual without proper checks.
So do you think any of these bills will actually pass, or is it just this political theatre that we've seen so many times before?
It's hard to say. A lot of it is political theater, let's be honest. You can even tell that from the names. But, this Stop Musk Act and the Nobody Elected Elon Musk Act are gaining traction in the House among Democrats, though Republicans are nowhere to be seen yet. And the bad DOGE Act is more of a long shot, but without support from the majority, obviously these bills have little chance of passing. Still, the three have made a pretty significant impact by sparking this broader conversation about this intersection of business and government. Whether or not they pass, they're definitely laying the groundwork for future battles.
And that's the conversation that matters, really. This is about more than just Elon Musk, and in fact, more than just Donald Trump. It's about how we keep the government accountable when the lines between public service and private enterprise start being blurred.
Yes, exactly. And it's really weird times here in the US. Actually, one of the only resolutions that was kind of more Republican leaning was one that was condemning people for vandalizing Teslas, because that is something that's happening here now. And that seems like a really weird resolution that is a definite blur of this private enterprise public service situation. And it's just super interesting to see where people are and how this is kind of unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't just condemn people targeting Teslas. Surely it's anybody who's conducting vandalism is wrong. And do you really need a resolution from Congress saying that blowing up people's cars is wrong? I mean, it is a very strange thing to have a resolution on. Well, so that's all for today's deep dive into the Department of DOGE and the whirlwind of legislation and resolutions that it's inspired. Who knew bureaucracy could be so dramatic?
Definitely not us. But stick with us because this story is definitely just getting started. Whether you're on Team Musk or Team What in the heck are we doing here, we'll be following along every twist and every turn.
Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Bill Number. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who's curious about where the line between tech mogul and government official really lies.
Until next time, folks, and don't forget to keep your eyes focused on what's beyond that bill number.